Lois, just a reminder to silence your cell phones, please. Thank you.
All right, good afternoon, and welcome to the memorial to celebrate the life of Dick Millhouser. I'm John Andrews, Amy's boyfriend. I'm honored to be here with you and to lead you through today's service. I had the pleasure of knowing Dick for approximately 2 years, a lot less than everybody in the room here. However, in this short time, I came to know Dick to be a classy, kind, and sometimes eccentric man. But at the end of the day, I certainly considered him a friend, and he will certainly be missed. As you will notice, this is not going to be your typical memorial service. You may have heard the Jethro Tull, the Grateful Dead, and the Allman Brothers when he arrived. We believe this is the type of service that Dick would have wanted. As you can see from all the photos, Dick led a long and happy life. He had many passions in life. He was a sports enthusiast who played tennis and golf. He was a life master at bridge. He loved classic rock. He was an avid art and wine collector, movie buff, and of course he loved his dogs. Dick worked in the insurance industry for over 50 years, retiring about 3 years ago from McFarland, where he'd spent 44 years. Dick enjoyed spending time with his family, all of which are present today, and will be speaking in his memory. At this time, please join me in a moment of silence in honor of Dick. Okay, at this time, I'd ask you to stand and bow your head. Dick's son, Andrew, is going to lead us through the Lord's Prayer. Our Father,
Lord of heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Thine is the kingdom, power, and glory, forever and ever. Amen.
please be seated. At this time, Amy and Nancy will say a few words in memory of their father, Dick.
Laurel and Hardy, Seinfeld, Linda Ronstadt, Cheech and Chong, craft shows, Lem Dior, crying children in restaurants, Hilton Head, the Allman Brothers, Paris, Woody Allen, Sancerre, the Grateful Dead, fine dining, Hobby Lobby, overpriced concert tickets, Animal House, Oysters, the Paddock nightclub in Ocean City, German Shepherds and Collies, French Impressionists, blondes who smoke, blondes who don't smoke, Cafe de Paris, golfing at Turf Valley, fried chicken, teak, Murph, McFarland Insurance Agency runner, Eric Clapton, the Redskins and the Ravens, bridge, rabbit, high school and college reunions, Rodriguez, Musée d'Orsay, Harlan, the Orioles, MASH, Oriental runs. I'm Amy, Dick's oldest, and these words People, places, and things remind me, my sister Nancy, and my brother Andrew of our dad. Over the years, Dad enjoyed so many things: playing with his pets, fine dining, vintage wines, visits to Paris, museums, playing golf and tennis, and watching sports. One of my most favorite pastimes is drinking good wine and drinking champagne and eating at fancy, expensive restaurants. And I got this admiration from my father. Nancy and I were quite competitive when it came to who got to drink the really good, expensive wine with my dad. And I almost never won those challenges. The two of them were the wine connoisseurs. You know, you must drink the Cab with the red mead and the special New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc with the seafood and the specific Chablis with the turkey. So our dad was quite the book of etiquette. When I was young, he taught me how to choose the right fork and the right knife and how to properly display my spoon after eating soup, and reminded me to put my napkin on my lap immediately upon sitting at the table. And this is from a man who was proud to burp loudly at the dinner table. So you can often find my dad glued to the TV. When he wasn't watching sports, he enjoyed watching black and white movies and classic movies on TV. But God forbid he went to the theater because there was just too much noise. People who talked and the possibility of screaming children. And then we all know Dad lived for music. He was a huge classic rock fan and he loved the blues. And even as he got older, he loved a good concert. But he had to have good seats and he always paid a pretty penny for them. Andrew clearly got his love of music and the concert team and the love of the Grateful Dead from Dad. Dad had many special relationships with his many, many friends. He remained very close to his high school and college friends over the years. He talked and talked and talked about his fraternity brothers, and he lived for their reunions. Jeff and Dwight and the McFarland family and many of his clients were lifelong friends. Some of the owners of his favorite restaurants were good friends, and he had many friends from Valley Country Club. He had good friends he played bridge with, and he always had good relationships with his neighbors. And then there were always the golf trips to Ocean City and Hilton Head with the boys. Although our family is extremely small, he had a special relationship with everyone. He didn't get to spend as much time as he would have liked with his brother Paul and his wife Leslie, since they lived so far away. But recently, he did enjoy spending time with their daughter Vivian. She's 9, but I heard he handled the young child thing exceptionally well. Dad and Robin's parents shared a special bond, and he shared unique bonds with so many other family and friends who are here today. Now, Dad had 3 exceptional wives, Patty, Lynn, and Nora. Dad loved beautiful women, but they had to be smart. And I know all of them had a special place in his heart. And when he wasn't married, he had exceptional girlfriends. And I can't remember one that I didn't really, really like. Let's just say that he had great taste in women. Dad loved hearing stories about my 2 daughters, Molly and Emma, the soccer and the dancing and the straight A report cards. Although he never changed a diaper in his life, and he refused to eat dinner in a restaurant with them until they turned 12. He got a kick out of their activities and was instrumental in helping my oldest Molly find the perfect college for her. Up until his last day, he was researching the best suited colleges for Emma, which he told me he thoroughly enjoyed. One thing I didn't have the opportunity to tell him was he's interested in going to Duke. And he would have agreed that Duke was an exceptional school, but there's Coach K. He was not a fan of Coach K. Dad was incredibly proud of Molly and Emma and only wanted the best for them, even though he never quite made it to one of Emma's 3-hour dance recitals. And then there are the dogs. Dad enjoyed nothing more than his dogs, and over the years they provide overwhelming camaraderie to him. To name a few: Clyde, Shep, Oliver, Maya, Mishka, Ted, Diva, Manny Brown, Enzo, Robin, Randy, Humphrey, and let's not forget his devoted black Persian cat, Wesley, who he said was his favorite pet of all time. I've heard various adjectives used to describe my dad. I've heard him called a character, crazy, colorful, a hoot. But I've also heard mentor, one of the nicest men I've ever met, influential, generous, honest, like a big brother, had a heart of gold, trustworthy, wise, sincere, a dear friend, kind and gentle, and they don't make them like him anymore. I'm confident to say that we all have fond memories of my dad. I think we can all say that he touched us in some way that will always be near and dear to us. Dad, I'll miss our dinners, drinking that exceptional wine and champagne and chatting about my girls. I'll miss your career and financial advice. I love you and I miss you. I'm not good at this. I already want to cry. Okay. I can't believe we're up here. It's just overwhelming and heartbreaking. We thought he'd break 100, and we just can't believe he's gone. 5 close friends of mine lost their father this past year. I never thought I'd be a member of this cracking club so soon. Some of those friends are here, and we'll be toasting our dads later today. I found this birthday card I gave him a few years ago in his drawer a couple days ago. I'll read what I wrote. It had Rocky. You are first and foremost my father, but you are so many other things to me. Sommelier, nutritionist, financial advisor, boss and partner, mentor, chauffeur, etc., etc. The greatest is that we are friends now too. I was only 2 when my mom and dad divorced, so I didn't know them together. As a kid and teenager, I thought, how in the world did these 2 people, very different people, come together? But it clicked at some point, and I got it. They were a great divorced couple, and I was always thankful for that. Amy recently added both of them to her Netflix account, and they would call one another frequently to alert the other to World War II movies and Hitler documentaries. It is hard to narrow down everything I want to convey. He was very much the dinner and a movie dad growing up. He took Andrew and I to a lot of R-rated movies like Cheech and Chong, Nice Dreams, Stripes, and Revenge of the Nerds. Even though I wasn't even 10 years old, I don't recall it being weird when they cursed or when other things were going on. Yet just 2 weeks ago, we were watching a movie at his house, and we both gasped and were embarrassed when one boob popped up on the screen. I am so happy my father and brother Andrew started hanging out weekly, actually more than weekly, after he retired. Both loved and lived for music and concerts. On the way to my dad's birthday dinner in June, the 3 of us were talking, and all of a sudden they were silent, and their heads moved quickly. While 2 blondes were next to us, probably a mother and daughter in a Mercedes convertible. It was hysterical. I let them off at the front of the restaurant so they could check them out. My dad was so proud of my nieces. He always said they got his and Uncle Paul's brains. He loved visiting Molly at college, and the week before he passed, he started researching schools for Emma. My dad absolutely loved college and said he would go back in a heartbeat. His frat brothers meant the world to him and really helped turn his life around. My dad and I became closer when I started to work at McFarland 23 years ago, but I'd say we really became friends about 10 years ago. He told me everything about his childhood and losing his mother so young. Just in the past 6 months, he was reflective about his difficult relationship with his father. He came to terms with it and realized his father didn't have it so easy either. I think I messed up the order, but that's okay. Oh, okay, I'll get back. Okay. My dad steered me towards Washington College, and he was right, of course. He loved that I loved college as much as he did. Not many folks like reunions, but my dad never missed one and actually planned and hosted several. He looked after folks in his life who were good to him, especially our stepsister Robin. Their bond was quite special. My stepmom Nora was the perfect companion for him. He handled her passing stoically, but missed her dearly. I looked up to him and just can't believe my steady, stable rock is gone. He really gave the best advice. Amy and I always said that. Dad was right. I was right again. said that all the time. He was attentive and really listened to you. His memory was impeccable. My dad was in all of Amy's successful career and so proud of her. He called us his worker bees. My dad was especially thankful for my husband's relationship with my brother Andrew. My dad said I would be the only Millhouser never to divorce. Millhousers. I feel like a huge part of me is gone, but he taught me that this is life. You have to rise up and go on and focus, and everything will be okay. Love you, Dad.
Okay, now Dick's brother Paul will speak in this matter.
I'm actually Dick's much younger half-brother, and I really want to stress the much younger. And Dick had every reason to dislike me, or at best ignore me. I was born when he was 27. He was already married to Patty. Amy was already in the picture. And my mom married our father when she was 30 and he was 57. So I can only imagine how thrilled Dick was. And yet he was unfailingly polite to my parents and me. We were part of every family event. We were at the house in Lutherville, I don't know how many times, for Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. It helped that he had a knack for picking good wives, I admit. But finally, I don't know, probably when I was still a baby, my mom and dad thought, well, we've always gone over to Dick and Patty's. We should really have them over for Easter this year, even though we live in a kind of small apartment. And so my mom really wanted to impress them and thank them for their hospitality, so she went out and bought a beautiful rack of lamb, which, and my mom was not much of a cook, so she was taking on a challenge, but she really wanted to impress Dick and Patty. My dad, apparently, when she was about halfway through preparing, and he said, "Oh, that smells good. What are we having?" "Oh, we're having lamb, honey." "Oh, Dick hates lamb." But to his credit, according to my mom, there was no word of complaint. I can't imagine there was much consumption either, but my gosh, he stuck it out. But despite all that, I actually wound up being pretty close to my nieces and nephew, Amy, Nancy, and Andrew. But Dick was more like an uncle than my brother because of the age difference. They were just of different generations. But then an interesting thing happened. As we both got a little older, we discovered that we liked each other. That we were kind of the odd men out in our crazy family. We laughed at the same things. We liked the same old movies. We listened to a lot of the same classic rock. I remember just a couple years ago, we were in town visiting, and everyone else had gone to bed, and he and I sat up to 2 a.m. watching the Cream reunion concerts on video. And we both agreed that Jack Bruce was great, but he helped clap the back a little bit. But really, most importantly to me, when my dad died, when our father died, Dick was always there for my mom when I was living up in Boston. He and Nora often took her out to dinner, made sure to include her in all the family events, and they just generally went above and beyond, making it clear that they considered her part of their family. And I'll never forget that. That meant so much to me. And in more recent years, he's always invited me and my family to stay with him when we were in town. And given that I have 2 daughters under the age of 10,
That was a big gesture. Again, he made us all feel welcome. He actually got really close to my wife Leslie and to my older daughter Vivian especially. He didn't get to know my younger daughter as well. But now that the gates were opened by Nancy, he at my wedding, my wife Leslie is from a conservative Midwestern family where divorce is a dirty word. People would stay together no matter how miserable they made each other. And Dick at the wedding kindly introduced himself to my mother-in-law and said, I'm Dick, I'm one of the marrying Millhousers. She was so excited to have me join the family. So, anyway, I've long stopped thinking of Dick as my half-brother. He was just my brother. And honestly.
Okay, next we'll hear from Dick's stepdaughter, Robin.
I knew Dick Millhouser for more than half my life. Initially, he was just someone my mother played bridge with. Soon he became someone she was dating, then not dating, then dating, and then dating again. Fast forward to January 2nd, 2003, and he and my mother were married. Soon after, I asked him, tongue-in-cheek, "What should I call you?" And without skipping a beat, he said, "You can call me Big Daddy." My response was, "That will happen never. I will call you BD." And he said, "And I will call you LD for little daughter." I was his partner in crime when he decided he needed just one more dog. His Saturday night dinner date when he was between girlfriends after my mother passed away. His concert buddy, whether it was Dickie Betts at the Rams at Indianapolis or seats at a Bruce Springsteen concert that cost him his entire Social Security. He made me grilled cheese sandwiches when I was sad, or take us to extravagant dinners to celebrate milestones in our lives. When he married my mother, I gained more than just an amazing stepfather. I became part of a warm, loving, extended family, and for that I'm forever grateful. I'll end this with one of my favorite BD stories. We were at his house in Hilton Head, and he asked me to play golf. I am a terrible golfer, and he knew that. For some reason, I decided I'll try to play left-handed. I play tennis left-handed. Maybe that will help. It was as bad as y'all were imagining. So hours later, the end was in sight. My ball was so far off the green you could barely see the pin. And he said, figuring the odds of this happening were statistically impossible, "I will give you $1 million if you make this shot." Don't worry, Nancy, I have no intention of trying to collect. I love you, my BD. I promise I won't leave the house with the dryer running or stop for gas on Liberty Road or talk when I'm walking down the steps. See, I did listen.
Okay, next we'll hear from Dick's business partner, Jeff Andrews.
Partners, we're going to do this
Oh,
together.
together. Jeff said he had to go after you one.
No, I said just the opposite.
He made me change it.
Just the opposite. Just the opposite. You ever go to bed at night and you're so just physically fatigued that you can't go to sleep? There's just too much going on. That's kind of what I was facing when I was trying to decide, trying to extract from all the material, much of which you already heard today, what I was going to say and how I was going to say it. Sorry.
I'll go.
Yeah, that's okay. Thank you. There's a reason I brought him up here. Yeah, my name's Jeff Anderson, and I'm the younger partner at the McFarland Insurance Agency. And I have to say that outside of my dad and my brother, he was absolutely the most influential man in my life. And the man to whom I owe and dedicate my career. I first met Dick in 1978. I was a grizzled veteran of the insurance business of 12 months. Lost my glasses. And age 23, and working as a newbie underwriter for a large national insurance company that was represented by the McFarland Agency and many other independent agencies. I was armed with an econ degree and fresh out of 6 weeks from insurance school, so I knew everything there was to know about insurance. And Dick was an agent, one of those slick dudes who would try to get us new underwriters to place insurance coverage for the big key account who was destined to blow something up and cause hundreds of thousands of dollars of claims to the insurance companies. We had to be very careful with dealing with these agents. One day Dick called in and he wanted to add a specific coverage to a key account of his, a coverage that was on my insurance company's no-no list. So being the dutiful company man that I was, I said, no, didn't do that. Dick, knowing full well what my response was going to be, asked me for my rationale in declining to provide this coverage. And relying on all my past experience, I went,
He does that a lot.
Yeah. Well, using a tone and style that became just pure Dick, without a hint of condescension or patronism. He went on to explain exactly why this coverage made sense for the client, made sense for the insurance company, and he was right. He was virtually always right. He hired me 3 months later and changed my life. That student-teacher moment became the foundation of a business and personal relationship that lasted for 40 years. Despite our 16-year age difference, we had much in common, having both been from Baltimore, lovers of rock and roll, you've heard all this already, the Orioles and the Colts, and all things related to Cheech and Chong. Read into that what you like. We both had lifelong guy friends with whom we were fiercely loyal. And we were different in that I had grown up in a traditional suburban family, warm, loving family, went to public schools. Dick grew up in a small apartment with his dad, and when he wasn't boarding at McDonald's. He was pensive and cerebral and played tennis and bridge. The life master was already mentioned. I was more a from the hip guy, and I played I played team sports and poker. Like any couple, we had our highs and lows. And occasionally we went days without speaking to one another, and stubbornness being another common trait. But it worked, as McFarland will celebrate 80 years of being in business next year, being McFarland. Dick was one of the most intelligent people I've ever known, so I listened intently when he expounded on insurance, nice clothes, restaurants, wine, and how to be a gentleman. He loved Impressionist art in the city of Paris, where he bought, about 30 years ago, he paid $100 for this tie. And where Mary and I were just last week when we got the news of his passing. He was quirky, opinionated. I'm sorry, he was absolutely impossible for me to play golf with. When talking about himself, he would occasionally lapse into the third person, and I would chastise him. But he was loyal, honest, and forthright. He loved to laugh. We made each other laugh a lot. He loved his kids and his granddaughters, despite his oft-stated belief that all women are crazy. He loved his dogs, and although he never told me that was Dick, I'm pretty sure he loved me. The feeling was mutual.
Ditto. Thank you.
So, being a fairly religious person, a man of faith, I asked Jeff to help me with this particular line from the book of Sirach. And I read this a couple of days ago, and it talks about being a friend. A faithful friend is beyond price. There is no way to measure his worth. And a reflection by St. Augustine sums it up nicely. Friendship constitutes a country for those in exile, a fortune for the poor, a remedy for the sick, and a life for the dead. It provides pleasure for those who are well, strength for the weak, and a reward for the strong. I had a bunch of comments that I was going to make, and then I narrowed it down, and now I have to narrow it down again because I don't want to be repetitive about what a unique individual Dick was. I never knew somebody could be a wine connoisseur and a Grateful Dead roadie. I thought that was impossible. I will sum it up by just saying that I was fortunate to be on my own dream team. Between Dick, Jeff, and me, you couldn't have three more different personalities, but you couldn't find three people that shared the integrity, the honesty, the loyalty, and the love that we did. Thank you.
At this time, we're going to have Dick's high school and college friend, Bob Cullen, speaking his memory.
Good afternoon, everyone. Look what all I wrote. It's all been said. It's just absolutely a wonderful tribute. I'm opening my book to the proper page, and my introductory remarks are just absolutely worthless. It's about community and family and groups, and how Dick just was the magnet that kept many of these overlapping situations together. That done, you see I'm possibly the oldest guy you'll see today, so my focus is going to be pretty obvious to you. I met Dick in, I'm pretty sure, 1954. We were both 14 and had worked at Gwinnett Park in unrelated places in the park. And then when we were 15, back at the park, we were sort of dubbed, chosen for our obvious talents to run the park. Dick and I were the face of Gwinnett Park at the switchboard and a little glass window in a little building at the head of the park where you came to check in and where all the employees punched their cards. And we had various duties there, pretty much just clerical, but we did a little bookkeeping, and we answered the telephone. We loaded bullets into tubes for the rifle range guy, and just that kind of activity. Many mornings when we opened the park, if whoever was first, one of the first things you'd hear getting off the streetcar was a goat, and who had very naturally escaped in the evening and gone to the top of the roller coaster, where they would just be happy as anything. And you had to go up there on the top, the biggest hill, and chase them down. And there was not a safety rail. It was kind of fun and an interesting little part of our job description. We also had a microphone that was gigantic. It looked like something that Bing Crosby would have crooned in his best days. It sat about this high, and we had a little book of bingo announcements. And the moment you pushed the button on the microphone, you could hear the click of several dozen speakers throughout the park. It was just like boom, and you knew you were on the air. And the moment you were on the air, if the other one of us was there, fish-eyed, cross-eyed, faces anything to trip up the guy while he would say, bingo, 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 come on in, you all win, the Dixie Ballroom, so, and other similar announcements. We had an awful good time, and I think we learned a little bit of responsibility there also. We ran the telephone and answered the telephone, and the telephone switchboard was a really archaic device that was full of buttons, no cords, full of buttons, and over here were 5 white buttons that were the incoming lines, and then all of this buttons were the phones throughout the park, and you match this with this, then this person could talk. You answer the phone by pushing a button, and just like we've all experienced in business, the main number, 2000, the next number, 2001, 2002, they roll over. If the first is busy, they roll over. So there are 5 buttons representing 5 incoming lines, and if the 5th button would ever light, it was either a wrong number, or it was Dick calling me, or I calling Dick. And when you hit that button and say, Murphy's Bar, Murph speaking, and thus it stuck as a nickname. I've never, being with you all, I'm aware of how many people did know it by Murph. And of course my prop was going to be the college beer mug, which had that as his nickname, and not the typical Animal House animal nicknames that he and I acquired in Maryland. Anyway, I was at Forest Park while we were working at the park in the office. And many nights when the park closed, 9 or 10, we would get a cab, a Woodlawn cab, to North and John Streets, the home of Theta Phi, our high school fraternity. Theta Phi is a national high school fraternity, and very well organized, and actually had a national structure. It was on the 3rd floor of a clothing store, and we literally, it became our second home many times. My mother thought I was at Dick's house, and Dick's father at mine, and we stayed down there a good bit. It became from my being at Forest Park, we met about 5 or 6 close friends who have remained our dear friends, and ultimately we went off to Maryland with them. We expanded a couple times and added people from other schools, and it was just truly a really wonderful personal experience for us and maturing. Then, because of all that fun, I went to boarding school, and because of all that fun, Dick ended up at Forest Park. I had gone, so we ended up going to Maryland, and he and I roomed together as freshmen in Coward Hall, just a typical old brick junk pile, and we both had boarding school experience. Our room was so darn small that you had to stack the beds, bunk style, just to fit 2 desks, 2 chairs. There were no closets. I think we just had racks with hangers on it. Pretty Spartan. But there we had 4 or 5 Theta Phi guys from Baltimore, from the high school group, who went through fraternity rush, and we all chose the same fraternity, and Tau Kappa Epsilon. And it was just absolute a mesh from heaven. We fit in. We have those 4 or 5 of us have stayed wonderful friends, and then we just added a group of just another layer of dear lifelong friends. So it's been a wonderful community from those 2 choices. I have a Maryland page. At Maryland, Dick, continued to exhibit his intellect, and he went through on a 4-year plan, and had good grades and all. I had some ups and downs, but together we were members of the National Political Science Fraternity. And it made us triple fratters. Fortunately, not another secret handshake, but so he is my only triple fratter. And that was quite a unique accomplishment for us. After school, families, children, we didn't quite have daily contact, and but we stayed together through Colt games, partying, membership at the pool, just plenty of contacts. I had a confusing paragraph. My chronology was all wrong on Dick's insurance career, but I do remember him early on working for Dan Ford at York Road in Govins, and lunch at the Govins Grill right across the street many days. And then I think he was at Maryland Casualty for a bit, and then off to McFarling. I'm so happy for Jeff and Dwight to fill in the blanks accurately on that. But I just noted here that here's what I put. There was an obvious serendipity at McFarland with a successful team and growth. I mean, just a wonderful matchup for career. That's sort of it for me. And I had some hot spots, some little nuggets to offer, and every one of them has been said. The fine wine, Masters Ridge, dining, artwork, travel, and dogs. I mean, it's just every one of us is so plugged in on his likes, and I think that if it's so many words describing him, I had friendliness as the glue. It was better expressed by other adjectives, but I mean, it's just he exhibited pure attraction for all of us. Thank you all very much, and thank you for all of these wonderful memories.
Okay, next we're going to hear from Dick's friend, Mike Spade.
He was the rambling man. By the way, thank you all for leaving your grandkids and your kids at home. You would have liked that very much. For those of you who don't know me, Dick and I met over 30 years ago, and we came to meet through my ex-wife and Dick's second ex-wife. And made it confusing, got more confusing as time went on, but that's how we got to meet each other. And actually, before I was married, I was living in Annapolis, and I was told by Debbie, my ex, she said, "Hey, my mom and her ex are coming down to Annapolis, and they want to meet you." Okay. And they did. I didn't know what else to do. So I had this old recipe from the Midwest. You take a can of Campbell's mushroom soup, blade pot roast, you throw it in the oven for 4 hours, put egg noodles on it. He came over, he didn't say a word. It was disgusting. It was absolutely disgusting. And I didn't have any wine, I had beer for him. Ended up playing Trivial Pursuit, and that was the first time I met Dick. And it was a fun night. A couple months later, I left Annapolis, I'm in Columbia, and I get a call from him. "Hey, you want to play some tennis?" "I'm 25, you good?" "Sure, I'll play tennis." So we played tennis, and it was interesting. He held his own, he really did, but we both kind of left, and he didn't play tennis either. It was a fun time, and he definitely had some tennis skills. And several months after that, he had asked us Debbie and I over to his house. We met one of Dick's many girlfriends. It was interesting. As Robin was saying, he was always like this. Who he was dating, who he was marrying, and all that. It was interesting, very interesting. We also shared a lot of evenings with those different dates. If we weren't eating at his house, we were going to find restaurants. So Tercigos, Beyond Dior, all these very famous, nice French restaurants that we just truly loved. And my palate grew with each time we were with Dick. And we also, as time went on, we had appreciation for wine. And one of our special days was going to Route 1 Liquors. He told me, come on, let's go get some wine. I need you to bring your station wagon. We head down Route 1 Liquors in the armpit off the 95 in Laurel, Maryland, and all these truck stops, and here's this little old gas station. We walk in, and there's just beer nuts and 6-packs and things like that. We asked the guy, we go around the back, and 3 hours later, we left there with 10 cases of wine. He had heard from a restaurant owner, Fernand, that the liquor store owner had passed away, and his personal collection had came to this storage garage in the back. The two of us were there, as I said, for 3 hours. And Dick knew how to select wine. He knew the good years, the bad years, what wine would age, what wine wouldn't age. And I learned an awful lot that day, and the appreciation was immense. And it was a truly fun afternoon for both of us. And 3 weeks later, we go back there. The place was cleared out. It was totally cleared out. But we were getting bottles of Camus, Robert Mondavi Reserve. They were all priced from the 1970s. So for about a 20-year-old wine at 70s prices, so the wines that were $20 would be $300-400 today if you could get them. And so it was, we felt we had a treasure there that day. Golf. Oh boy. Jeff said he couldn't stand to play with Dick, and I am known as one of the fastest golfers in the world. But golf wasn't about playing golf with Dick. It was about the experience. It's 3 hour, 3.5, sometimes 4 with Dick. Playing golf, and if you hadn't seen Dick play golf, you had this waggle. And I'm not exaggerating. He'd step right through that thing. If he could only Velcro his feet to the ground, he would have hit the ball another 80 yards. He took golf lessons after golf lessons. He just said, screw it. But you know what? He hit it straight down the fairway. When he first started playing, he hit it straight down the fairway. I'd hit it 100 yards past. He'd be 2 feet in the woods. He'd hit another one 100 yards. I'd punch out. We're at the green, the same place and time. We're both par bogey. He was very good from 100 in back in the day. As he got older, it wasn't so much. But it was, again, as I said, you hit your shot, you get in the car, the golf cart, and you find out about Amy and Nancy, Jeff and Dwight, his girlfriends who he's dating today, who he just broke up with, all those things. And that was the fun for the golf. We also had our golf trips. Lefty, Dale and I. Dale is, by the way, wanted to tell you, he's heartbroken. He could not be here. Literally heartbroken. He's got heart troubles and he's not allowed to travel. He's hoping to be better in 3-4 weeks, but he wanted me to let you know there was no dearer friend in his life than Dick Millhouser, a one-of-a-kind. Wishes he could be here today. I watched Dick go through, and some of this is repetitive, but I watched him go through his collection phases. His impressions of paintings, both the French masters and the Maryland masters. Joe Shepard, Doug Hoffman, Greg Moore. He loved those, and they were beautiful big paintings. He went through his nature art stage. So all of a sudden, foxes, wolves, bears, all those house lion. He loved those. And then that led to the art craft fair. Let's get in the car. We're going to go down to Gaithersburg, and we're going to go from booth to booth to booth. And that's so many things. It was a stage. He went through those things. And after that, it was, Nancy, I think, brought the internet to McFarland, and he learned how to click the mouse. And then there was the Russian Impressionist phase. And he found all these great pictures. They were really good stuff, but they were cheap, so he got those. And then the mouse led to no longer we were digging in garages for wine. He was letting his fingers do the walking, and we would share. Folks at McFarland would buy 10, 15 cases of wine. He did all the work. And if you knew Dick was getting it, you knew you were getting a good bottle of wine. You never had to worry. Just tell me what I owe Dick. We had some great wine. He loved doing those things. Then there was our golf trips, as I mentioned earlier. We had one year where it rained all 4 days. We only got to play one day, and that was par 3 that was attached to where we were staying. Dick planned out everything from the liquid assets, where we went the first night to dinner, golf the second day, dinner the second night, and Lefty will testify, the best dinners ever were at the Grove Market in Ocean City, and they had the pies, and you had empty out there, and had the pies, and Dick loved that. He just loved getting it all. He worked it all out. All the connections and all that, we had a great time. We did that for many years. The year that it rained, I sat there with my iTunes, a little boombox. All right, what do you want to hear next? And they shouted out a song. Dickie Betts, the Allman Brothers, we played it all, and we had a great time. And then we'd sit there and watch football, and oh yeah, it was Bud. And it wasn't the liquid Bud, it was the other kind of Bud. And he truly enjoyed that, watching football. We had a great time. And then Robin mentioned about his love for dogs, and she was truly his partner in crime. I was there. It was Dick, Robin, Nora, and I, and Lee, and Nora gets up and goes to the bedroom. She says, "Hey, we're really not going to the airport to pick up my college friend. We're picking up a dog." Who the hell in their 70s goes and gets a 5th dog and doesn't tell the wife? Dick did. Dick did a lot of those crazy things. One of the other things we talked about when we were in the golf carts was I had a business partner relationship. He had a business partner relationship. And these relationships go like this. It's a tough thing to navigate, especially when you're 25, as I was when I first started, and you move up. You're starting to find your way in business. And then when he was 50, he's carrying a heavy load, and he's getting into his 70s. It's hard to carry that load. He was truly fair and truly appreciated both your partnerships and the fact that you're here today is a testimony to the love and respect the three of you had, and it just was a beautiful thing for me to watch. They don't always end up like that. It truly meant a lot to him. I don't have anything else to say, but thank you, and he was a great man and a great friend.
I think those were all our prepared remarks. I guess we can open it up if there's anyone else that wanted to speak on Dick's behalf or say a few words. Yes, sir. You come up. Yeah, come on up.
I didn't prepare anything, but since I'm French, I think I have to say something. My name is Eric Fauchat. I'm the past owner of Café de Paris. I met Dick about 20 years ago, as well as our two partners over there, Jeff and Dwight. And I remember that day where Dick had come back from a little surgery, and he had like some band-aid on his face. And he says, "Eric, can I ask you for a favor?" I said, "Yes." I said, I just discovered I had cancer, skin cancer, and I would like you to allow me to bring wine to your restaurant. I said, "Yeah, it doesn't matter. Why do you want to bring that wine?" And he goes, "Because I don't want my ex-wives to drink it." Sorry for who is around here. I recognize a few faces. Anyway, the second thing and the last one was after my kid grew up, I came back to a dream
driving a motorcycle. It's very safe here because the roads are so big. And when he found out I had a motorcycle, he called me the idiot. So one day, my wife was at the restaurant and he says, "Where's the idiot?" And she said, "He's on his way." And when I came, he says, "You're such an idiot." And when you crash, I'm going to marry your wife.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, anyone else? It's hard to follow that. Okay, well, I guess this concludes our service. On behalf of Dick's family, we would like to thank everyone for joining us today to celebrate his life. Please make sure you pick up a prayer card on the way out. It's not your typical prayer card, but it's probably typical Dick from all the stories I've heard today. So we would like everyone to join us for lunch today at the Bluestone Restaurant in Timonium. The name and the address is noted as you exit the room. Again, we want to thank everyone for coming, and we hope to see you at the Bluestone.